there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Orange Report with Kira Davis. I am Kira Davis here with all the news and views you can use from around California, Orange County, and the nation, because California news is America news right now. You can follow us over at the Orange Report OC here on X. We broadcast live to X 3 days a week. We do our wrap-up show on Friday. It's more California and Orange County focused. But you can follow us here on X, and I also broadcast through my personal account on X, Kira Davis, Kira Davis. Go find me, follow me, all of the things, do all of the things. Let's see, how do I want to start? I want to make sure, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're listening on any of the audio platforms, please give us a 5-star review. We have, as usual, lots to talk about today. I do want to get started. I mean, this is mostly what I have is California news today, but I want to start with a couple of national stories. Virginia today is voting on they're voting for their gerrymandering bill. This is the response to the redistricting, which is crazy to me. This is crazy, but this is how crazy Democrats are. So today, Virginia is voting on whether or not to, quote, temporarily redraw their lines so they can get a favorable voter turnout, right? And basically what it will do, it will redraw the state so that 5 of the 11 congressional seats will be districted as Democrat seats inside Fairfax County. That's the county, that's the DC borough, basically. That's the Beltway. So the majority basically of votes that count in Virginia will go to Fairfax County, which is not representative of the rest of Virginia. In a state that voted 45% or something like that for Donald Trump, those people will have a 10% representation after this. And this is all because of Texas redistricting, which was legal and in fact had been delayed, and probably delayed for this very reason. This is probably why Texas Republicans refused to obey the court order that they had to redistrict. Trump wasn't asking them to do something that they hadn't already done. He wasn't asking them to make up something. He was asking them to enforce the law, to enforce this thing that, of course, would be good for Republicans. But he's saying it's sitting there. You've left it there on the table. Complete the act, complete the order, redistrict. And what did it do? It triggered Democrats, but Democrats aren't redistricting because of the law. They're changing the law to redistrict, right? And they're changing it so they can get the votes they want. Why do we do this at all? Gerrymandering is a scourge. I no longer accept that. I've even heard some conservatives say that it has its place. No, it doesn't. If the population changes, then let the representation change too. This is so undemocratic. It flies in the face of a republic. And the fact that we all put up with it as normal. In California, this is one of the lawsuits we have going on. In California, we have a law that prohibits you from gerrymandering based on race. That's supposed to be for the white people, right? They did that for the white people so that the white people don't gerrymander based on race and then manage to get their people in there. But gerrymandering is racial. It is it's everywhere it's used, it's racial. And folded into that is economics, right? The economic status of a given community, because your economic status dictates a lot of how you vote. Unfortunately, this is why I believe that we would do better to have a voting system which only people who have paid income taxes or who are property owners who have paid property taxes can vote. You have to have paid either or. I think it flies in the face of a republic. It flies in the face of true and effective governance to allow people who have a vested interest in taking from others to vote, right? If your vested interest is this is why we shouldn't have public sector unions. you are necessarily voting against your own people, right? You're voting to take something from someone rather than to preserve something you have. And being a taxpayer changes that notion. My husband and son and I were having a conversation the other night about how athletes tend to skew very conservative. And I said, here on this show, or a different iteration of this show on my old podcast, I had interviewed somebody and I asked this question. I said, why are celebrity athletes, why do they always skew so conservative? They usually lean to the right, but celebrity entertainers are usually exclusively left wing. They're both in the same economic class, in the same success class, social status. Why is that? And he said, I wish I could remember who it was, but he said, it's because athletics is merit based. Athletes only succeed on their own merits. They only succeed if they can be good at their jobs. But that's not how it is in entertainment. It's not merit based. It's based on all kinds of other things. And so when you don't have to earn your position, you feel differently about how others earn what they have, and you look differently at those things. So, um, there's a difference between the value of being an earner and the notion of taking from those who earn. So I do think that, I think that's a pipe dream, but it's a little pipe dream of mine. That being said, gerrymandering is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous process. I think it needs to go. I don't know how you get rid of it. I don't know if if it's even possible. I think it's something Republicans should endeavor to get rid of. I don't understand. If the population of your city or your district changes, the district should be based on where people live in the same area so that they're voting together on the same things that are important to them. Here in California, this redistricting gave us things that look like spiders and snakes. And they go here in California, in my district, my representative has to campaign in Orange County, which is it's a bubble here. It has very unique attributes. And then they have to go as far south as San Diego, and some of the immigrant areas of San Diego to campaign as well. And those are two different messages and two different political groups. And they did that on purpose. We don't have the same interests. Gerrymandering should be illegal. I do not understand why we allow this, and I do not understand why the Republican Party has allowed this for so long and not fought against it, because it only disadvantages Republicans. There is no reason why, if the population of a given area, if that population shifts, then why shouldn't the representation shift too? Then if you can't elect a middle-class white guy in an area that has turned into, a lower class, a rental market, then you can't. Then you have to go and find the guy who represents those people instead of figuring out how to put them with other people who will vote like them. They'll move if they don't like how things are in their area. They'll leave. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. And what Virginia is doing, I think this is a sign why we can't let Democrats win. We can't keep letting them win. They don't care about America. And I do not understand. I do not understand how we got here so quickly. I guess it wasn't quickly. It was, 50 years and then all at once. Every move the Democrats make is proof that they hate America. They hate their constituents. They are not concerned when they're talking about winning. Look at what they're doing in Virginia today. They're trying to change the boundaries so they can get the votes they want. They're not trying to change their platform. They're not trying to change how they speak to you, the voter, and how they come for you, the voter. They're not trying to change how they show up for you. Or they're not asking, there's zero introspection. It isn't, what are we? Maybe we're thinking the wrong things. Maybe we're asking for the wrong things. We're approaching people the wrong way. It was never more obvious than it was on election night 2024. And for about 5 minutes, it seemed like some people on that side were having that discussion. And now we're back to, well, we just have to change the boundaries so we get the result we want. They don't want to change their ideas so they get the result they want. They want to change the rules so they get the results they want. That should say something to you as a voter. That should tell you something. That should tell you that they are not interested in improving your life, in improving this country, in improving our status as a nation. It is all about their own power. That's why I don't, Black people, there's no reason for us to be Democrats. It's a losing proposition on every level. I will never vote Democrat. I will never vote Democrat again. I haven't done it for about 20 years now, and I will never do it again. It's a losing proposition because they never, ever change anything for us. And they never ask us what we need changed. They pander to us. They come to our churches once every 4 years. They put on a fake accent. I ain't no ways tied. They pretend to do a little jig in our churches. And then they go and do the same stuff over and over again, the same stuff that leaves our community in the same position. And then when we don't get what we want, the things we've asked for, they say, oh, those dirty Republicans. But they're running out of Republicans. Here in California, we have no Republicans to blame. And this is turning out, it was fine 5 years ago, it was fine 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's turning out to be a real problem now. And if you watch the very first governor's debate with Steve Hilton against 7 other Democrats, the lone Republican on stage, he didn't have to work very hard to distinguish himself from those people. All of these people are running on the affordability crisis in California, the housing crisis, the crime crisis, and they're the ones that created it. And they don't even have a Republican to point to and say, oh, we tried to change it, but this Republican wouldn't let us. So they all came off sounding like boring hypocrites. They're all boring. They all had talking points. None of it sounded fresh. None of it landed the way that it used to. And Steve barely had to lift a finger to look different from them. There's no one left to blame here. But Democrats do not offer, they say they're offering solutions and then they don't bring them. Every time they come to us, they just come to us telling us why the rules are set up the wrong way. Look at that insane unhinged rant. I can't even play it. It's so filled with filth. I can't play it for you, but that I know you've seen it. That unhinged rant from James Carville recently, who used to be, the gold standard in political commentary, and he married to a Republican. Not sure how Republican she is these days. Old school Republican. A Clinton acolyte, just one of the guys. It's just, he's earned his place is what I'll say. Democrats would have done well to listen to Carville when Kamala Harris was running. He had all kinds of things to say, interesting about that, about where they should go and what they should or shouldn't do. And he was always a reasonable man, if not passionate. But he's become absolutely unhinged. What has happened to James Carville is what has happened to the Democrat Party. And let me tell you, this is who they've always been. And now they're just telling you. It was always a lie. That whole facade of us, well, remember the blue dog Democrats? Remember how we used to just be able to talk to each other and politics wasn't personal. And look, I'm not old enough to remember a time when Democrats were like that. But I don't think they ever were. It was all a facade. It was all a facade to keep you placated and keep you believing that if you just were reasonable about things and willing to make compromises, that we could live together peacefully. And that was never it. Because when we were making compromises, we were losing. And they were okay with that. And now we've won and we get to see who they really are. They're not interested in compromises and they were never reasonable. That was all a lie. They're unhinged, like James Carville, who said, you know what we should do when we win again? We should change the rules so we make sure Republicans never win again. What the hell kind of thing is that to say about a republic? We're supposed to have balance in this country. We're not supposed to have one party rule. I'm living in a state of one party rule. How's that working for us? And he's not thinking about you and your life and what's better for you and what's more affordable for you. He's not thinking about your son who's trying to navigate a world in which he's told that being male is enough to give you the label of toxic. He doesn't care about the farmers and the ranchers who live on the border in places like my state, who are basically overrun with cartel. He doesn't care about the Angel families who are grieving the loss of their children due to murderers who were here illegally, situations that were completely unnecessary in the first place. He doesn't care about how much your eggs cost or how much gas costs. He cares now because there's some negative press to get out of it with the war in Iran, or the almost war in Iran. He cares now, but he doesn't care. He's not offering you any solutions. What he's saying is, when we win again, we should make sure that we never lose. Let's expand the Supreme Court. Let's gerrymander the hell out of the entire country. Let's make sure Republican Americans never have the opportunity to have a say in this country again. That is their platform. That is what they're trying to do. And my friends, we can never let that happen. And I don't care if you're a Democrat and you're uncomfortable with MAGA or you're uncomfortable with the right. If you want that life, then what you're asking for is California life. Do you want that? And it doesn't come with the sun, which we barely get these days anyway, because they're doing something up there. Don't get me started on that. That's a different show. Anyway, they don't have solutions for you, and they are absolutely unhinged because they realize that this is what I think the truth has come out. There's no reasoning with these people. They cannot be won, and they are not Americans as far as I'm concerned anymore. They hate America. Why? Why do they hate America so much that they think that there is one side of this country that should have no say at all? And all we want is liberty. All we want is to be able to pay our mortgage. All we want is for our kids to be able to afford a home. And we want to know when our children are being secretly transitioned genders in school. That's all we want. And for that, we get, you should never have power again. You should never have a say in this country again. It's insane. They hate America. Why? You never hear, it always used to be, there's a lot of older clips going around of Clinton, even Obama. Again, I think Clinton was a moderate, just a filthy moderate. Obama was never a moderate. But you'll hear clips of them back in the day, talking about what's good for America. And of course, we disagreed about what was good for America, but that was the whole thing. This is what's good for America. That's why a lot of them were against illegal immigration then. Not good for America. What happened? What happened to the Democrats? The DSA took over. That's what happened. The Democrat Socialist Party took over. And the Democrat Party is a progressive party, and the progressives are anti-America. And that's why we can't let them win. They got to go into a corner and learn how to behave themselves. And we're not going to change the rules. We don't need to change the rules. They changed the rules so that they could cheat their way to perpetual power. And we were so strong. Our voices were so powerful. We used their own corrupt system to beat them. And they still can't stand it. And all we're asking for is honest elections. That's all we're asking for. Let the people speak honestly. And that's what they're fighting so hard against. And that should tell you something. The honest voice of the people is not going to give them what they want, which is power, because their platforms are bullshit. Their ideas are dangerous because they've been taken over by the Marxists. They are anti-America. Their goal is to destroy America. The goal of the Democrat Party is to destroy America. It is not to preserve it for you. And you prove me wrong. Change my mind. Show me one thing that the Democrats are advocating for that is pro-America and pro-Americans. Show me one thing. I'll wait. Well, I won't wait because that'll leave a lot of silence on this podcast, and that's not very good broadcasting. But there is nothing. All right, let's go to, I'm going to prove it to you. Let's go to number 6, Chris Murphy, Senator Chris Murphy. Hey, do you guys, did you guys remember that the government's shut down? Yeah, the government's still shut down, everybody. I don't know if you remember that, but the Democrats have now created the longest shutdown in history. Somehow, public is moving on. We're all moving on. Again, another sign. These people hate America. They hate us. They're not going to work. So much so that we've forgotten that they're supposed to be at work. This is Senator Chris Murphy, though. Here's news today out of the Strait of Hormuz. At least 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels bypass the U.S. blockade today. And Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat Senator Chris Murphy responds, awesome. That's his response. Awesome. Now he's saying, now this is sarcasm. I think TMZ, Go TMZ, caught up with him in the Capitol building, and they asked him about it. And he said, maybe I need to be more careful about sarcasm. I'm going to be honest with you. I did think it was sarcasm when I read it. I did. That being said, whether it was sarcasm or whether it was serious, I think there's a lot of conservatives out there right now who are pretending it's serious because it's something to make hay out of. Either way, I think it's a bad look. Either way, because it's a joke, right? Either way, you're either actively rooting for the Iranians, right? You're going, awesome, yes, go Iran, which is how some people are choosing to interpret this. Or you're going, awesome, isn't that great? Trump sucks. We suck. America sucks. There used to be a time when we would be rooting for our boys, right? The response wouldn't be, oh, great job. The response would be, go boys, go get them. We're going to make sure that this doesn't happen. And then even, if you want to flip it, if you're on the opposite side of the aisle, which again, there used to be a time when these guys would at least pretend to be on the same side. Well, we do want to win any war that we're in, but you're on the opposite side of the aisle. Maybe you say, okay, good. Let's go get them and make sure that we end this war so we can just get out of it. So more power to our troops. Go American troops. Team American troops. Democrats can't say that. The best they can do is get on a video and compel American troops to disobey orders, which I think is seditious. I actually think those people should be arrested. There's a great thread. I don't have time to read it today. There's a great thread from Data Republican. You should follow Data Republican. She's amazing. But she talks about this. It's a strategy. It's an active strategy for revolution. And it's being conducted within the halls of our government right now. And that's why whenever Trump says awkward things or weird things about people, he says, I don't like that person, or I don't care if that person is dead. I take him seriously. I don't go, oh, he's being rude. I go, oh, I think he knows things that we don't know about people. I think that all the time. When Rob Reiner, that's the thing that comes to mind all the time. And even conservatives were like, this is not the right thing to do. What if Rob Reiner was a Satanist? What if Rob Reiner is one of these Hollywood people that like sacrifice babies or say, you know what I mean? Like, we're finding out a lot of stuff is kind of going under the radar now because, oh, all you Epstein people who are screaming about the Epstein files, where are you now? Where are you now? They've been released. Hello. And there's some pretty horrific things in there. Where are you now? Thank you so much to the influencers out there who are still picking through the Epstein files, by the way. Keep doing it. I'm watching it. Keep posting your links and letting everybody know how that's working so we can go verify it. Thank you. But again, this is just Democrats hate America. They don't care about the kids. They don't care. If they did, they would wonder what had happened to the 200,000 kids that went missing when they came across the border in Biden's administration. And they would put that together with Jeffrey Epstein's conversations about child trafficking. And they would go, gee whiz, is there some kind of network that we need? Oh, JD Vance just announced they're reopening a Pizzagate investigation. Let's go find the Pizzagate guy and apologize to him. I did a whole show on my old show, Just Listen to Yourself, on Pizzagate. I think it was at the time, and then the Wayfair scandal came up. Wayfair had some weird pricing for smaller items. I'm convinced, actually. I think there is something to those complaints that might have been a shadow site for something else. Maybe not children, but something else. But I did a whole episode on it, and everybody was like, can you believe it? It's ridiculous. This guy's ridiculous. He's standing in front of a pizza shop saying that children are trafficked there. And now we know a lot about pizza. And why not? And one of the things I said is, why not, though? What do you think the code word for buying children would be? Hashtag buy children? It's got to be something mundane. It's got to be how do these people communicate? They communicate in code. They communicate in secret. I just think we're the idiots. We're the idiots. We're the sheeple. I mean, Epstein said that, right? He called us all sheep. We were just sheep to him, robots, just cattle. That's what he called us, cattle. Called all humans cattle. I don't know if he qualified as a human, but that's how he looked at humans, as cattle. That's how Democrats look at you. That's how Democrats look at us, as cattle. We're just votes, and when we're not the right votes, they'll just go find other votes. They don't care what we need. They don't care what we want. They don't care about your family, how you're going to survive and thrive, how you're going to make this country better. They care about power, and that is why we need to do everything in our power to make sure they don't win in November and that they don't win in 28. And then maybe we can get back to a place once we've once we've cycled through this generation of ill-educated losers, and then maybe we will get to a place where we have a more balanced political discourse in this country. But right now it is impossible, and Democrats cannot be persuaded. And we are not like them. And I don't care if it sounds like I'm being a hypocrite because I'm saying they can't win. I've been saying that from the start. Of course they can't win because their goal is complete authoritarianism. Their goal is to destroy the other party. That's their goal. It's to destroy balance. It's to make sure that you, non-Democrat voter, will never have a say in how this country is run again. And that should scare you. It should scare all of you. So I know you have some criticism for Trump, how he's running the Iran war. It's over, by the way. Let me say this. Chris Murphy, that was misinformation that he gave out. Because what happened? Trump came out, the White House came out and corrected the record immediately after that misinformation went viral, which is no, we didn't let that happen. We went and got them immediately. And it turns out it was Chinese vessels running guns into the country. Our Democrat establishment should at least be encouraging our troops and our military members and giving them the credit for what they do and how good they are at it, and giving them the encouragement of support. These people hate America. You guys, Democrats cannot be in charge. They cannot be in charge. They do not love this country. And you cannot put someone in charge who doesn't love this country. We did that with Obama, and now we're here. Get yourself out there in the midterms. We can win the midterms if the whole Republican base turns out. We can do it. No more, but this is not just a matter of you teaching Republicans a lesson now. We're on the precipice of complete and utter destruction. And I've been saying this forever, and I'm going to keep saying it. And I don't think it's being an alarmist. We will be headed for kinetic civil war if the Democrats are allowed to win in November and then again in 28. We will be headed for kinetic civil war because the right has already been through the game plan in 2020. We're not going to do it again. We played along then, and I'm not in favor of kinetic civil war. I like this part where we live fairly peacefully. If Democrats would just stop killing people, that they're mad at, or hitting people or hurting people. Every day you see a new assault. I watched, I love the abolitionists. I don't know if you watch the abolitionists on social media, the abortion abolitionists. I follow Golden State abolitionists, but they have Abolitionists Rising, I think, is they're hardcore pro-life. I mean, they're like pro-life, no exceptions. They don't even really like the right-wing pro-life movement because they don't think it goes hard enough. It doesn't punish abortion as murder. And I follow them, and I like a lot of what they do. And one of their guys, they know how to do what they're doing legally, by the way. They test everything. They don't stand where they don't belong. They don't show anything they're not supposed to show. They don't talk to people they're not supposed to talk to. By this point in their movement, they are very well versed in what their legal rights are. And president, I guess, he's really great to watch. He's great. He was attacked the other day. He posted that video. He was attacked. And what they do is they go and they stand out with signs and that show the horror of abortion, and then they spur conversation. And out of nowhere, a man just came and attacked him, bloodied him up. The police came, filed a report. went and picked up the guy because he was on. But this happens regularly. I know you've seen that reporter from TPUSA who was pushed by a grown man. A grown man in his 50s pushed this young woman from behind and knocked her to the ground. We would never allow that in the past in this country. We would never allow that. And I will tell you what, you will never see that at a Republican gathering. Never. If a Republican man pushed a woman down in a crowd, that man would get jumped by the other men around him. Like, these people are crazy. They can never win again. We cannot let them win. And I don't say that in the Carville way. I say that in the way that these are absolutely the enemy of the people. Carville doesn't like you. He wants to change the system because he thinks you're an enemy of the state. And to him, the state is the most important thing because the state has given him his life and his fortune. And he doesn't want you to have that life or that fortune. The people who have the fortune want to protect it. But the only way they can protect it is to keep you locked in servitude. He wants to protect the state, right? You need to be voting for people who want to protect the voter. So pay attention to what's happening in Virginia today. I have no idea. Of course, they're going to cheat. I have no idea where it goes from here, but I do not think this battle is over by any means. And frankly, I don't think we're going to lose. I think we're going to win. I don't know if we're going to win Virginia today, but I just think we're going to win America. And it'll be because of you. And it'll be because Democrats prove who they are. They make it very difficult for the last reasonable people among them to stay with them. So, all right. Let's go to, let's do number 2. Let's do Tom Steyer's. Let's do Tom Steyer's ICE manifesto. As this California race tightens for governor, I was just on Andrew Wilkow earlier talking about the race for governor. Everybody's interested in what's going on here. People are blown away. The last time we had a governor's race here, folks, not the recall, but the actual race, no one even knew it was happening. That's how much of a lock it was for Gavin Newsom. No, he didn't even run ads. He didn't even run. I'm serious. Gavin Newsom didn't even run for the last time. Now, he had to make some noise during the recall. I know a lot of Californians feel that the recall was rigged. Larry Elder, was kind of doing well. And yeah, there was cheating, but the recall effort was not well managed. I'll say that. So, but Tom Steyer now he's polling at the top. He's not on top, $100 million in, and he can't seem to level these polls. But this man is going to be 200 million into this race by the time he drops out. $200 million for what? Like, people stop voting for Democrats and they want to tell you, oh, life is unaffordable. He could have, think of how many houses he could have, how many down payments he could have offered for people. Like, they never think about helping us in terms of just giving us their cash. Their help is always giving it to a third party, which will give it to a fourth party, which will maybe give it back to you in the form of a program, right? That's all that fire aid. Where'd that go? $100 million. Where did it go? We were told it was going to go directly to people. We imagined it would be a check that you would cut to a homeowner who lost their home. No, it just went into daycare services and people who aren't even in the Pacific Palisades, just people who might help down the road. You're not, no one's angry enough. So Tom Steyer is going to waste all his money by the time he's done, waste our money, waste our time for sure. But he's put out, again, I talked to Andrew Wilkow today. He made this very great point that it feels like Democrats, he's talking about Newsom, but you could say this about any Democrat, and leave it here, Scott, because I'm going to get to this, but you could say this about any Democrat. It's like the Democrats are the guy in 1991 who just won the audition and gets to be the front man of a hair metal band. And he's really excited about it, not understanding that grunge is 6 months away from taking over the market and killing hair metal. That's who the Democrats are. They don't understand that the country has moved on and they're still campaigning on the old Democrat Party that has lost. So Tom Steyer I guess his goal is to just go as far left as possible. That's the play the Democrats are making here in California. We haven't been left enough. We haven't spent enough money. We don't have enough immigrants here. We don't have enough people on Medi-Cal. Here's Tom Steyer's play for the top spot in the polls. How California can put ICE in jail. That's what Tom Steyer's running on, everyone. He's running on how to jail law enforcement. I don't care what you think you know about California. The average Californian does not want law enforcement to go away. We want more law enforcement. I don't care what you say. And you ask any Black person in this state, you ask anybody if they want more law enforcement in their community or less. Most of them are going to say more. Almost all of them. And almost all of them are going to say ICE is fine because it's taken away the illegal immigrants that are changing our communities. And now we have to march side by side. Somehow we stopped being Black and now we're brown. And we have to hand our legacy of slavery, racism, oppression. We have to hand that over to these brown people that just got here and march arm in arm as Black and brown people, as if they know anything about what it means to be Black in America. Yeah, Black Americans actually like ICE in their neighborhoods. The true test, I'm reading Tom, the true test of a leader is not who they disparage and attack, pay attention, is not who they disparage and attack, but who they defend and uplift. Donald Trump attacks and robs the most vulnerable in our society while protecting enriching the most powerful. How so? How so? Because the most vulnerable in this society are those young women who have been murdered. We're now in the dozens. These young women who have been murdered, just minding their own business as normal American women who should be able to go wherever they want and do whatever they want, because this is America. They're the most vulnerable. And they've been taken advantage of by the people that Tom Steyer wants to protect. I've made it clear. ICE must be abolished. He said it, abolish ICE. He's going to run on it. Great, run on it. ICE is acting like a criminal organization, carrying out indiscriminate racial profiling and using violence, intimidation, terrorism, and the murder of Americans to extend Trump's rule by fear. So this is after he started out by the true test of a leader is not who they disparage and attack. And then he goes on to disparage and attack Donald Trump. And again, these Democrats never talk about you as an American. They never talk about you as an American. They never talk about Laken Riley or Jacqueline Nungari. They never talk about the Americans who have been murdered at the hand of illegal immigrants who not only had no business being here, but were given dozens and dozens of opportunities, even after they committed crimes, to stay and behave. This is vile, Tom Steyer. You're a disgusting, vile creature. Just shame on all of these people. We can't let these people win, everybody. I don't care what your issues are with, if you're like mad, Trump's not doing what I want him to do in Iran. Like, I get that. Not to say that you shouldn't have those issues, not to say that you're wrong for not liking everything Trump does, but let's look at the larger picture here. We can't let these people win. Not for 1 second. It's not enough for Democrats to simply engage in rhetoric and stand against ICE or Trump. California must build a system that fights fire with fire to stop this. What does that mean? Fight fire with fire. These are legally, constitutionally empowered law enforcement. That's what ICE is. It's been here forever. Democrats have liked ICE forever. They didn't hate ICE until this year. So what does it mean to fight fire with fire? Are you actually suggesting that Americans go out, which is what they have been doing, isn't it? That Americans go out and engage in hand-to-hand combat with legal law enforcement? Is Tom Steyer going to go do that? This is what I'm saying. They will put you on the front lines in a damn heartbeat. How do we do this? The same way we took on the mob, put ICE agents. What mob? You're the mob. put ICE agents and their leadership in jail for their crimes, because that's how you take on a violent extremist group and win. All right, first of all, everything's projection, right? So he's projecting some good advice. That's what we should be doing. All the violent people and all the extremists should be in prison. And maybe Tom Steyer is one of those people. This is seditious. This is encouraging violence against law enforcement. This is encouraging it. You want to put jail? He is not just talking here, people. He is setting up an American system where no one wants to become law enforcement, because what you do on the job could get you jailed down the road. For simply enforcing the law, you could go to jail away from your family. This is seditious. I really do think the White House should be taking a look at this manifesto. As governor, I'll do the following 5 things. First, I will go after ICE's modus operandi, using racial discrimination to detain, arrest, attack, and brutalize Americans. There's no proof of that. If it's because all of the people they're arresting are immigrants, illegal immigrants from other countries, it's because that's what ICE does. It arrests illegal immigrants. I will pass aggressive legislation that builds on current California statutes and outlaws any law enforcement agency from profiling based on race. We already have this. What does this mean? We actually have umpteen laws to prevent law enforcement from profiling based on race. You know what they have up in San Francisco? The media is not even allowed to identify the race of a criminal in a case, even when they're putting out descriptions. Even when they're looking, the police will not release the racial description of a criminal that they're looking for. So someone who's on the loose, to avoid racial discrimination. So they won't tell you you're looking for a white man, 5'5". What? No, just an older gentleman, 5'5". They won't even tell you the color of their eyes or their hair in case it indicates race. Like, that's where we are. So what are you talking about, Tom? More California statutes, more laws? We passed 2,200 laws last year. They didn't all get signed. 200. That was the most we've done in the state, but the least is like 1,000. Like 1,000 laws a year, and he's going to make more to get more aggressive. Why don't you get aggressive about freaking prosecuting crime? Why don't you get aggressive about the criminals? Why don't you get aggressive about the drug addicts that walk into your CVS or your Walgreens and pull everything off the shelves and walk out? So much so that CVS and all of our stores are closing across every city. San Francisco is a ghost town. Santa Monica is a ghost town. Why don't you get aggressive about that, you absolute lunatic? Second, I will give the state attorney general the authority to hold ICE's leadership accountable for violence. This is why you have to vote for Michael Gates. He is running for attorney general. And if we don't get a Republican governor, then we damn well need a Republican attorney general. We need the guy who's going to say no. And I was with Michael Gates last night. He's an Orange County boy, and we're always at events together. And he was speaking at our Central Committee meeting last night. And he addressed us, and he said, look, the one thing I will do as Attorney General is the Attorney General has purview over all 57 sheriff departments, law enforcement departments across the state. I would have purview. So I will work with those departments, work with them to enforce immigration law and to enforce criminal law and criminal statutes. And not everyone's on board with that. So the ones that won't work with me, I will force them to obey the law and to enforce the law. Compare that to what Tom Steyer is saying, that I will tell the attorney general to arrest the law, to arrest the keepers of the law, the enforcers of the law. And Crowdy, incredible. I'm having brain fog these days, and the words are not coming out the way they should. Sorry about that. Incredible. Third, I will appoint and fund a special investigative unit to work with the Attorney General, who is specifically tasked with enforcing these California laws, including laws related to the conditions at detention facilities. The investigative unit will collect the evidence and the attorney general can use to prosecute offenders and their leadership. Imagine if just one freaking California Democrat said, I'm putting together a task force to find out why, how so many of our young women are being murdered at the hands of illegal immigrants. And I'm putting together a task force to support the parents and the families and the victims of these horrific, horrible crimes. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to prosecute it, and we're going to figure out how it never happens again. Can you imagine? Democrats never put together task forces for you. They'll never put a task force together to improve your life. Their task forces are always meant to restrict something for you, restrict your ability to be protected, restrict law enforcement, which is what you pay for. You pay for ICE. You pay for law enforcement. Tom Steyer wants you to pay twice. He wants you to pay for that, and then he wants you to pay to prosecute those people that you paid to do their job. It's lunacy. It's absolute lunacy. Fourth, I will bring those detained and kidnapped by ICE back home by creating a stronger and larger immigration legal defense infrastructure in our state. He's not saying I'm going to protect you, the California voter, the American citizen. I'm going to figure out how to bring all these people back. Democrats living in South Central, Democrats living in Santa Monica, in San Francisco, in San Diego, inland, Democrats, think about if ICE has been to your neighborhood and removed some of these bad elements, do you want them back? Do you want them back? Because that's what Tom Steyer is saying. I'm going to put them back. We're going to reverse Uno this. I don't know how anybody could even consider voting for these people at this point, any of them, let alone Tom Steyer. And fifth, I will launch a massive statewide Know Your Rights public education and public awareness campaign. Every Californian, regardless of their immigration status, so he doesn't care about you, the citizen, the voter, the taxpayer, every Californian should know their constitutional and legal rights if you are stopped, detained, or questioned by ICE agents. But will you tell me what my legal rights are when it comes to my taxes, when it comes to my border, when it comes to my child in school? Are you going to educate me on my constitutional rights on that, Tom Steyer? What about the constitutional rights of taxpayers in this state? Are you going to take time to educate us on that? Are you going to take time to educate children on what their rights are in school, what they're allowed to talk about when it comes to God, the Bible, sexuality? Are you going to educate kids and parents on their rights to resist LGBTQIA plus all the other letters indoctrination into their school? How about that? Think about what these people prioritize over you. You should be absolutely disgusted. You should be hopping mad. You should be ranting and raving like I am every single day. No, we cannot let these people win. Absolutely. This is the year when California has to flip. Listen to this man's plans. And if he doesn't win, the person who does, the Democrat who does win over him is going to be worse. Because right now it's looking like Xavier Becerra, hashtag, or otherwise known as Jose Baccaria. Thank you to President Biden, former President Biden. He's worse. He is an immigrant who is a communist and who is totally bought out by the pro-communist, pro-immigrant, pro-illegal immigrant lobby. He's worse. So when you see me out here talking about Chad Bianco is not ready for prime time, Chad Bianco is not the guy, he should not be in this race. It's because I know that 2 Republicans are going to split this vote. And then we're going to get 2 lunatic Democrats to vote for. And we need to be behind one. To my mind, that is the only play. And that's my concern here. You have to pick the best Republican who is going to beat the Democrat. And we have to be so careful. We're walking a tightrope here. It's just, I think it's absolute fantasy to think we're going to get 2 Republicans in the primary. Now, we might because it's a miracle era. It's the golden age. But that's a miracle. I'm not hoping for a miracle. I'm trying to strategize here because this is what we're up against. This is what we're facing. You can take this off now. Tom Steyer is a lunatic. The California Democrats are lunatics. They have no love, no affection, not one single positive thought or impulse towards the California voter, towards the native California voter. None. They don't care about you. They say it in every time they speak. They never talk about the taxpayer. They never talk about you. They never talk about you. They never talk about what we need, or the stress of the California taxpayer trying to pay all these taxes and afford a home. They don't, because they don't care. Not only do they not care about you, they actually hate you. They think you're the problem. They want to end private home ownership. They want to end small business owners. They want to end it. If it feels like everything is set up against you to succeed in the state, that's because of 16 years of total one-party rule. They hate you. Democrats hate you. Democrats in Virginia hate you. Democrats in California hate you. Democrats in Oklahoma hate you. They hate you because they hate America. And let's start being honest about this, and let's start talking about them as they really are. And if you're a Democrat who doesn't hate America, then get out of the party. You're in the wrong party. They hate America. We cannot elect Democrats anymore. Not the way that party is now. And I believe in a two-party system. I'm not like James Carville. I think one party needs to gain power and then keep power. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because if you get a one-party system, you get California, and the opposite of that is Texas. And there's a whole lot of dysfunction in Texas right now because they have one-party rule, Republican. I do not want a one-party system. I want a balanced two-party system. That is a superior system, not the parliamentary system. That is not the superior system. It's this two-party system. And I know it's cool and it's counterculture to say, oh, we need more choices, but that's because you're ignorant about where those choices happen. We do have all the choices we need. We just make those choices at a lower level, at an earlier point. We make them on the primary level. That's why the jungle primary thwarts the republic, thwarts democracy, because it thwarts the system where we make those choices, those informed choices, and we have those battles in our silos, right? We have them in our tribes before we take them. We do have choices. They just happen at a lower level, and they don't look like the parliamentary chaos of our European and Canadian allies. We have plenty of choice. They just happen at different levels. But all this to say, I don't want to end the two-party system. I don't want to end the Democrat. I do. You know what? I actually do. I think we do need to end the Democrat Party, but we do need a party to replace it. So I don't know if they're going to need a takeover. Right now, the progressives, the DSA has taken over the Democrat Party. I don't know if that's not grassroots establishment can reassert themselves. I don't think so, because they don't have the moral clarity to do it. They were never standing on morals and values anyway. They were never standing on principles anyway. So you need principles to take a stand. I don't know what's going on, but what I do know is that we cannot let them win. They don't like America. They hate America. Democrats hate America. And that's that. And their whole goal is to destroy America. And you know what the soul is of America? The soul of America is private property and the individual taxpayer being the most important citizen, right? The most important. And government protecting your rights, not granting your rights. Government is here to protect. The whole fallacy of the separation between church and state, it's based on that separation clause. It's not a clause. It's not in there. Okay. There's no separation of church and state in the Constitution. That was a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to somebody. So maybe we should do this thing. And Democrats now pretend that it's in the Constitution. It's not. But there is that establishment clause. And the establishment clause is meant to protect religion from government, not government from religion. Tom Steyer, why don't you set up why don't you set up a special investigative panel, education panel to educate people about that part of the Constitution, about the part that says government is supposed to protect the rights of people. People are not supposed to protect government. These people are dangerous on a level that is so deep. I can't believe how many of you out there have forgotten how bad it was 2020 through 24. We almost lost everything, and we will lose everything if we let them win. You have to go out there and win. You have to go vote. You have to encourage your friends to vote. You have to look at the 30,000-foot view, okay? So whatever the pet issue that you're angry about, be angry about it. Like, we do need to hold people accountable. But understand that we are facing, I believe, kinetic civil war if we let Democrats back in. Because I know I'm not going to let them march into my home and take my guns or take my rights. I let them do too much in 2020, far too much, and my children paid the price for it. I know I'm not going to let that happen again, and I'm a reasonable person, and there's a lot of unreasonable right-wingers out there. We have to win, and then we have to continue changing things so that the people are in charge. See, Democrats, when they talk, they want to change things so they're in charge. That's the only language they understand. It's the only language they use. On the right, we have to endeavor to change things permanently, change things for good so that the people are always in charge. All right. I think that's enough for me today. Let's see what's going on. We'll have another live show tomorrow. And tomorrow is also another debate. And we will have a second Republican on stage. Chad Bianco has decided to participate in this debate. And we'll see how he does because he hasn't had a chance to face Democrats or an unfriendly debate field. So we'll see. We already know how Steve Hilton has done in the past, and it'll be an interesting dynamic. And then, so I'll do that. And then tomorrow night, I'll be on with Katie Pavlich on News Nation to break down whatever happens in that debate. But before then, I'll have another live show for you here on X. We broadcast to X, and but you can find us on YouTube and Facebook as well. And let me I didn't check the chat. Let me check the chat before I go. Mr. Toyota says Democrats hate Trump, but he is such a part of the cult personality that they take it as hating America. Democrats hate Trump. No, that's not it at all. Democrats do hate Trump. We know that, but they hate Trump because they hate America. And that is, and Trump really is the purest representation of the American dream. As a matter of fact, I didn't bring his book, but I've been reading his book, The Art of the Deal. And I flipped it over to look at some of the original endorsements that Trump got for that book when he published it back in 84, 83. And there was an endorsement from the New York Times. And what did it say? Donald Trump makes you believe in the American dream and makes you believe that the American dream is for everyone. Even back then, they were saying that. Donald Trump is the American dream. And that's why people like him. And you're going to be super disappointed, Mr. Toyota, when Trump is dead and gone and you figure out the MAGA movement has just morphed into just regular America now. Because Trump is just America, and that's what made him so popular. And the reason why you think it's a cult is because Americans were so starved for pro-American talk that any politician that came along and gave that to them and was super Mr. America was enough to ignite the American spirit. And the American spirit is strong. It's not a cult. The Democrats are in a cult. The cult is Trump. Trump is a cult. They're cutting their kids off. They're cutting their families off over Trump. They're beating people up in the streets over it. They're killing people over it. Right? So, no, it's not a cult. We are pretty sure you hate America because you never say anything good about America. You never say anything about America. And even if you could point it out, show me where it doesn't have a but. I love America, but show me where Democrats are nothing but buts. Let's see. OU812 says, President Trump truthed out support for Steve. So what are we conservatives supposed to do? Support the other guy and definitely split the vote? I'm not quite sure what that means, but I think it means that Trump has made the decision. Here in California, we weren't quite sure what, we're split. I don't think evenly split anymore. The more I see of this race, I think Steve is pulling ahead, but we're split on the conservative side. Hilton or Bianco, and the party couldn't do it at convention. The delegates couldn't do it. Need a 60% threshold. We didn't get it. So what's the next best thing? Well, the leader of the party made the choice for us. The leader of the party, Trump is the leader of the party. Came out, I'm endorsing Steve. All right. What are conservatives supposed to do? I think you go with the endorsement of the leader of your party, the guy that you went to the mat for in 24 because you knew he was our last best hope. You trusted that guy then. You got to trust him again now. And you know what? I'll spill a little tea. I've heard it through the grapevine. I know some people who know Trump, and I have heard it through the grapevine that Trump, is a little iffy on Bianco. He has some reservations. So, I trust Trump. And I think, and you can take that for what it's worth, right? That's grapevine stuff. That's heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend. It's third party gossip. Take it for what it's worth. But I trust Trump's instincts, and I don't understand. I think it's cultish behavior to not trust Trump's instincts because he's been right about everything. All right. Well, as usual, let me know what you think. You can drop it in the comments. Thanks, guys, for those comments. Really appreciate it. Follow us everywhere at Orange Report OC. Go ahead and give Orange Report OC a like or a follow. That just helps us with the algorithm. We broadcast through my brand, and that's fine. If you find me here, that's great. But, it's going to help us get more of the word out and just help us professionally speaking. If you go ahead and follow those channels, we are on YouTube. YouTube sucks, man. They just squash everything. So this really is an X show. We consider ourselves an X show. And so we hope you'll follow us here. Go buy my book, Drawing Lines, Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas. Go to my Substack, justkiradavis.com, to find out more about what's going on. And definitely stay tuned because we've got a big debate coming up tomorrow night, and it could shake things up a lot here in California. So if you are just tuning in to the California landscape when it comes to this gubernatorial race, hold on to your butts, everybody. Hold on to your Democrat butt. But I do think this is the age of America. America ascending, and Democrats hate America, and that's why they have to lose, and that's why I think they're going to lose. All right, everybody. I'm Kira Davis. Until we meet again, don't forget that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So bring on the sunshine.